youtube.com. Hi everyone. Hello. How are we doing? I'm very early today because I have other obligations and because things did not go as planned today. I have to make chicken and I have to make food because I'm at home most of the time. And I don't mind doing it. And I ordered a bunch of food and I forgot the aluminum foil. And so when I made a second order for aluminum foil, um, there was some credit card issues with the shopper, like some issue with my card. I don't know what it was, but the shopper wasn't able to get the order. And so with that in mind, I had to stall when I could get the aluminum foil, which stalled the time where I had to make the chicken. That ended up ruining my plans. I was planning on personally coming on here and talking to y'all at around like 1, and I wasn't able to do so. So I'm here now. I only have dang domino effect. Hi, hello. Ooh, Cole, I see the new name, the Blue WC. That's cool. But I'm, um, I'm just saying that I'm gonna be streaming earlier. My plan is to start streaming on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 1 to 4 p.m. and then on Fridays or Sundays from same time, 8 to 12. Um, I got stuff going on late at night now, so I want to make sure that I honor those, and so I'm trying to get on stream earlier um, to talk to you guys. All right. With that in mind, I don't have much time to talk to you guys today. I maybe have a little bit under an hour to talk to you, 45 minutes to an hour to talk to you, and then I will be heading out. However, I will make sure to honor the schedule of 1 to 4 p.m. For Tuesdays and Thursdays from now on. Hello, by the way. I hope everybody's doing okay. I hope everyone's having a great, wonderful Tuesday. Okay. It's pretty cold around my streets. I think YouTube or Google changed the handles again. Regardless, here for the rant. Um, yeah, maybe, maybe they changed the handles. But sorry, guys. Hello. I hope everybody's doing well today. I it's a it's a cold day today, and it's raining outside. And Cole is talking about how YouTube or Google changed the handles again. I think I changed my handle. This platform is now called Exis Does Stream, and then I have another platform called Exis Does. So that might be my issue um, that I've changed. However, if they change the handles again, or if they're doing some weird thing where you're not able to see me earlier, I don't know what's going on with that. But thank you for coming on and talking with me, Cole. It's always a fun time when you're here talking with me. But I want to take some time today to rant. I don't have time to game today, unfortunately. Sorry. We're going to have to start the query on Thursday. I'm so sorry, guys. I love y'all, but that's when we're going to have to start the query. I got to rant, though. I got thoughts, and I got to get them out of my mind because y'all are pissing me off. And I know I'll be pissing people off, too, with, like, some of the talking points I have. But, like, I just got to get it out with the time I have, all right? And then I'll leave, and then maybe I'll follow up on Thursday before I start streaming the query, okay? First and foremost, I want to talk about this pregnant lady who was in labor and was told to leave the hospital that she was supposed to, like, give birth to, right? She was turned away and she ended up having to give birth in her car. Okay. So I just want to show this real quickly. I'm not going to play like the video sound because I don't have time to deal with the technicalities, but this is the woman. She shows up to the hospital. Mind you, this is the hospital where her doctors take care of her and her birth, her obstetrician, all of that, right? They are no longer employed. I don't know why. There was no notification to her as the mother, and so, or soon to be mother. And so eventually what had ended up happening is, she got escorted out of the hospital because her obstetrician wasn't there. And had gotten fired, or gotten let go, or retired, or was unemployed, no longer working there anymore. First question I have, first and foremost, is why weren't they notified beforehand when she started going into labor? Why wasn't there a notification? Okay, to let her know, hey, by the way, your doctor isn't at this location anymore. You're going to have to steer course and go to this different hospital. Right when she's like 3 centimeters in. Okay, that's weird. 2, why isn't there, like, I don't know how pregnancy or like obstetricians work in the medical industry or in the hospital as like a business and scheduling and whatnot, but why isn't there a doctor available, an obstetrician available to help bring this baby girl, her daughter, into this world and to help this woman? Why is it, like, I have questions and they haven't been answered. And I think the most important question I have is, why are they turning her away instead of being like, yo, your doctor isn't here. I know you're 3 centimeters in. You can take a new doctor, or you can drive to this other hospital. Why wasn't that the discussion instead of wheeling her out and being like, sorry, you have to go to the hospital down the street? What the hell? What? Or the hospital you have to go to is like 30 minutes away. Hello? So here she is getting wheeled out. And obviously the family's suing. And apparently what had happened was, because she was like 3 centimeters in, like the crown of the baby's head was there, invisible and present, right? She basically had to give birth in the car because she was turned away from a hospital center. Okay. And so here's my problem, all right? Because this is a bigger issue. We tell women that the biggest value you have in society is if you have a kid, if you're a mother, if you are a husband, or if you're a wife, that's the greatest gift that you can give to society, is you sacrificing your body, your mind, your whole existence to be subservient to a man, to be subservient to another child, right? We put that on such a high pedestal. Women having kids on such a high pedestal, as you should. That is not easy at all. It's not easy. All right. We honor it. We talk about the value of it. We say women who don't have kids, who are single, you're unvaluable to society. I read a Reddit story about a whole mom trying to clock her 35-year-old daughter, did not clock, by the way, nor did she clear her 35-year-old daughter because she didn't have a family, a husband, and kids by now. Meanwhile, she's living a nice, comfortable life. She has a condo. She has pets. Maybe she has some roommates to help pay the bills. But like, that's where we are at, okay? We put so much effort in pressuring women to have kids and boiling down women's value into having children that when it actually comes to having the damn kid, okay, when it comes to actually pushing the kid out of the womb, no one is there to be found. No one is there to help. Because what the hell even is this? This should not have happened. There should have been some, her nails are nice. I'm sorry, I have to call it out. Her nails are very nice. I like baby boomer nails. But more importantly, back to the topic of discussion. She should have gotten care or help by whomever was in the hospital if she's 3 centimeters in. What the hell is going on? Like, you see why I don't want to have kids anymore? You see why I don't have a desire to get married or have kids anymore? Because how are you going to look me in the eyes and tell me that my biggest value as a woman is to have a child and get married? Meanwhile, half the men out there, and it's not just men, it's just people in general. Most people don't know how to keep a relationship long enough to want to get married. A lot of the dating advice that y'all are listening to is teaching you how to court, okay, and date casually. It's not teaching you how to be in a relationship. And then also, on top of that, y'all don't even show up and support the mothers who have had children, and now you're proving to me that you don't show up and support the women who are damn near about to have children, busting out of the seams. This should not have happened. Maybe this is a once in a lifetime, a unique situation, but I've heard too much shit about childbirth and how traumatizing it can be and how it can affect us. I also know that Black women are the highest when it comes to birth death rates. I don't know if I can say that 14 minutes in, the word death, but you know what I'm saying, right? And it's for shit like this. Okay, like, this is ridiculous. I do not want to hear any conversations about my biggest value into society. My biggest contribution in society is having a child. My biggest contribution into society is getting married. When you guys can't even take care of the women who are about to give birth. This, like, where is the doctor? I know ERs have certain specialists for certain needs. Where is the specialist for obstetrician? The obstetrician specialist. Where is that? Where is that? Y'all are pissing me off with this nonsense. Okay? 5 to 10 years from now, there will be whole think pieces and dissertations as to how effed up in the head we were about the gender wars conversations, about what our expectations in society should be for men and women, when you know it's all a freaking joke. And then especially why women probably don't want to have kids anymore, why women don't want to be in relationships anymore. This looks horrifying. She literally could have been unalived because a hospital turned her away. And obviously, like, of course, the family is going to sue. They're absolutely going to sue this hospital, right? They're going to sue this hospital, as they should, because you don't just, like, what is that? You didn't even have the decency to let them know. Oh, by the way, your doctor is not here. Like, at least like the due date of the birth. Your doctor is not here, unfortunately. For this day, you're gonna have to go somewhere else. They didn't have the decency to do that for her. This is ridiculous. Okay? Never, ever, ever come in my space, in my orbit, and try to make whole ass arguments and excuses and reasons as to why my value as a woman is attached to whether or not I decide to have kids. Do not do that, because this is why I don't want to have kids right here. Like, I can't, like, this should not have happened. I know the president said, we're sorry, this shouldn't have happened, we're working on it. I do not freaking care. out of all things, especially the pro-lifers, especially the people who are like, yo, you need to keep that baby, you need to have that baby. Those people, out of all things, y'all should be creating space, making waves in that hospital so that woman could have her baby safely. She should have not had to have her kid in the car. And you still over here pressuring women, telling women, oh, you're worthless if you don't have kids. Oh, your value is and whether or not you have kids, and whether or not you make your husband a sandwich. And if you even have a husband to make a sandwich for, don't play in my face anymore with that nonsense. You do not care. I am convinced that having children in this country I am convinced that having children in this country is meant to control and manipulate a bunch of people into desperate situations where they are left to be in poverty. I am convinced. You know, people have more free will when they don't have any other person to account for. They do. They are, excuse me. They have more free will. They're able to do what they want. They're able to live how they want. The older I get, the less and less desirable it looks to have children. Between the way some of y'all men be carrying on, between the way a lot of this, what's the word? Body autonomy has been going on in the government. And now this, no. You can have it. You can have it. I absolutely do not want to have any of y'all's raggedy crotched up goblins. I really don't. Because this is awful. And you know what? Because I say I want to be child free and I'm adamant on that. In no way, shape, or form am I against people who want to have children. I have friends who have children. They're having a great time. You know, they love their baby down. And, you know, I'm happy for them. And I'm happy for a baby that comes into this planet. But when you know that children can severely thwart the careers and desires of women, but children also are a very, very huge ass expense that never ends as soon as they turn 18. When you realize that you have a responsibility as a parent now and an adult to ensure that this human is going to be okay, that you created, that this human is going to be fine, they're going to be safe, they're going to be okay. And then on top of that, you cannot guarantee whether or not that human will still be a decent individual citizen in society. That human that you created can let you down. No, I don't. You can have it. I don't want kids. Okay, I just don't. I think it's very egotistical that some people will say, oh, well, what about your bloodline? Your bloodline's going to end with you. It's not a flex to have a bloodline that you can't take care of, or a bloodline that hates your ass, that would not take care of you in your elderly years, put you in a hospital home, never come to see you or visit you because they can't deal with you anymore. That's not a flex. Okay? I also think it's very weird that they're like men try to Clark it. Not even clock it. Clark it. Thanks, Cole. I think it's very weird that men don't like they just keep having. I think it's weird that people who can't afford to have kids keep having kids. All right, let's keep it gender neutral here. All right, but men specifically, y'all, some of y'all men will have kids and then you will keep having kids and then not take care of them and think that that's okay, that's normalized, that's fine. That is not okay. That is not normalized. That is not fine. You created a system that says that the nuclear home is to be respected, to be revered, and to be honored. Okay. All right. And half of y'all motherfuckers, okay, just being real here, y'all do not respect the nuclear home system. Y'all keep creating broken homes. I think that's weird. And you think it's normal, especially y'all motherfuckers with money. Y'all folks with money think that it is normal to just keep having multiple children. Prime example, Exhibit A. He has like, what, 10, 12 children, all from different women? That's weird. Let this shit fly in 2003. He wouldn't step near the White House with a 10-foot pole. It didn't matter how much money he had. One thing I will give the early 2000s politics is that they did have, to an extent, they had some sort of integrity. They had some sort of image that they had to uphold. But this would not, like, just, oh, well, you have like 5 baby daddies, you can't be here. Just because you have all the money in the world and you're going to be a trillionaire does not mean that you still aren't going to F up those kids. One of his daughters is out here like, no, yeah, fuck my dad. He's a weirdo. Okay? And quiet as it's kept, none of y'all are going to be able to obtain the same amount of wealth as Elon. You will not be able to obtain the same money, wealth, and resources as Elon. So why do you guys keep having multiple fucking kids? That is weird. That is weird. Okay? And women, please stop having so many kids that you can't prepare for, all right? And also, like, if you're child free after this woman got turned away from the hospital right when she was supposed to give birth, if this turned you to becoming child free, I completely understand. I get it, because this right here is horrifying. People really underestimate the power of being able to bring life into this world. It's because we live in a patriarchal society. I am being way too woke, way too early, way too early in this video. But listen. I'm gonna just say, I gotta shoot my shit, okay? I gotta say what I gotta say. Because we live in a patriarchal society, people undermine the value, the hard work, the effort, the power a woman has, or people with vaginas have, to give birth. Y'all just don't understand the fact that there are whole subsections on platforms like TikTok and Instagram being brutally honest about like what it is having kids and raising children, postpartum depression, all of that. The fact that we as women had to go on these platforms and these subsectors and figure out what it really is to have children is alarming. Yet we keep encouraging women to be like, have kids. You're nothing to me. You're no daughter of mine if you can't have children and get married. What are we doing? Stop. We are in a society now where even if you are on the cusp of having the child, it used to be when you were pregnant, everybody loved you. You were respected, loved, honored, baby shower after baby shower. Everybody loved you because you are about, that is a sign that you are going to push out that child, and that child is going to be in the world. So I feel like a woman's respect comes from, just based off of the standards of today, patriarchal standards of today, comes from them actually being pregnant and then the day of their wedding. And then after the fact, y'all do away with them. Y'all put so much pressure on them. Y'all are like, well, you're just not a good mother. Well, you just got to do better. I think about all the crap my mother had to eat trying to raise me. I think about all the crap I gave towards my mother. Though I'm at the point where it's not really my fault because I didn't ask to be here. Like, well, you know, accountability. There were some things I could have done better, right? As a daughter, but also like I didn't ask to be here. She made that decision. But the fact that that's the responsibility that you were manipulated and coerced into believing based off of societal standards of what your expectation is as a woman, only to realize that half the men out here don't even know how to help you. Only to realize that no matter what you do, you're still going to be seen as a bad mom. That you can never do it right. Like, no, this is too much for me. This is, no. Now, so it used to get to the point, it used to be when you were pregnant, you were respected, revered, and the whole world stopped for you. So even if you were pregnant and you were in the ER, you could still probably get care from an obstetrician or someone, right? Like they couldn't just turn you away. Okay. Now what y'all are telling me with this video is that even if you do have children, even if you're in the process, 3 centimeters in, that baby is about to pop out. Okay. You are still deemed worthless in the American medical system, healthcare system. I'm not having kids. No, I don't want to have children. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. That should have never happened. Someone, like, I don't know who on that hospital did not call whomst to let them know, oh, hey, she needs to go somewhere else. What I do know is this is in Chicago. I know there's a lot of folks in Chicago. I know that Chicago's pretty rough, depending on where you are. Like, every city's rough. But I also know there's a lot of black people in Chicago, too. I also know that Indiana has the highest death rates for black mothers when it comes to giving birth. So this is not okay. This is horrendous. I'm glad they filmed it. I'm glad they're suing. I hope they get all the money they need, and I hope this hospital does better. Okay, so that's where I'm at with this. All right, that's my point on that. That's messed up. Okay, now I want to talk about this. Okay. You're in Chicago, Cole? Yeah, be careful, Cole. Okay, make sure if you decide to have kids, make sure that you have a really good doctor, that you're able to communicate with your doctor, that your doctor's communicating with you, so that, like, if any of that happens, you know, you can circumvent being another statistic of losing your life while having kids, unless you don't want to have kids, you know. But just be careful with that. I don't like that. That really upsets me. What I do know about Atlanta is that I think it's one of the hospitals here is like the number one. It's like the grade A #1 hospital for like giving birth. I think it's Northside Hospital. Like, it's like a baby. Okay, all right. My stream disconnected for a second, but it's back on. All right, so I'm not gonna like talk about, like, I can't show up videos of what each person was saying, so I'm just gonna have to sum it up and then maybe follow up with it next stream. Okay, so Davin Drew is a TikTok yapper. It's who I would call a professional TikTok yapper. That's what she is. Okay, nothing wrong with it. There is a hustle in TikTok yapping. She is known for having really solid points that, to an extent, I agree with, and also having points that I honestly just don't really vibe with and doesn't sit well with me. One point she had is when Beyonce performed for the Super Bowl. A biracial girl got up on TikTok and said, Beyonce's promoting propaganda, y'all, but I'm gonna go to the tour. And Davin Drew started her whole TikTok with, if you are suckling on the teat of the oppressor, because she's a biracial girl and she has a white mom, I guess, then you have no say in the Black American experience and whether or not it's propaganda, and went on this whole entire tangent. And I remember that discourse happening. I remember people being very divided. And I remember sitting there thinking, biracial had a point. Miss Biracial had a point. I shouldn't call her that. Her name was Hannah, I think. Okay, I'm not going to name drop because she got a lot of bullying from that, but she was not wrong. Cowboy Carter is absolutely promoting propaganda, American propaganda. It's just flipping it, twisting it, and combing it out in a way that is presentable and desirable to Black Americans. Is that album still really good? Absolutely. Did I go to the Cowboy Carter tour twice and enjoy myself? Hell yes. Would I probably go do another Beyonce tour? I hope. But, like, let's just call it what it is. Y'all have to realize that some of your faves are not in the same class as you. Beyonce is not in the same class as us. Amazingly talented woman. I would say one of the women who does deserve where she is at because of how much work she has put in. But she is sitting at banquet dinners, benefit dinners with Melania Trump and going to Kardashian parties. That's the circle that she's around because she's a wealthy woman. Davin Drew has more in common with Hannah than she ever will with Beyonce. Like, I'm so sorry. So that whole point of you can't speak on Black Americana because you're not a Black person yourself, you're biracial, weirdo behavior. So already, that point was a little weird. And some of the things that really like rub me the wrong way about Davin Drew is that I know that a lot of black women are holding black men to task and demanding that they be held accountable for their misogynoir. And I think that's fine. I think that's perfect. But when every other video I come across is you berating black men, and like, I get it. There are some creators who will make a whole brand off of berating black men. And that's the trauma response to black men making a whole brand off of berating black women. But when you try to package it in a way where it feels like where people can potentially look up to you, or like where you're packaging it in a way where you're not looking at the nuances of situations, right? Where it feels like you're almost regurgitating talking points from gender war fodder and nonsense. That's when I get weird. That's when I'm like, all right, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Is there a lot to say about misogynoir? Absolutely. Absolutely. And I too will clock black men as well. Okay. But when you start like jabbing at black men constantly, and then hinting at, you know, interracial dating being the ideal like way to navigate your life as a black woman, I feel uncomfortable with that, because I'm gonna just tell you, as somebody who has interracial dated before, it's not greener on the other side. It'll take you longer to get there because it's new and foreign to you. If you've never interracial dated, it's new and foreign to you, but it will take you longer to get to the point that most men think the same, regardless of what shade they are. Okay? That like Timothy with the good credit score, Tyler with the good credit score is still no better than Tyrone out here dogging your ass out on TikTok, okay? Like, I'm sorry, who's making you go 50-50 on everything, okay? It's not, the grass is not always greener. I don't like the divestment conversations. I am of the business of you should probably date who you love, period. And if it means dating out, go do that, okay? But I'm not gonna be here like, yeah, date a white man, sis. No, that's never gonna be me, okay? Because it has its own set of problems, all right? Don't believe me? Danish deception, right there, right there. We'll talk about Danish deception later, okay? But like, come on now, come on. Like we gotta move smarter. There, like a lot of the conversations that we're having demand so much nuance, so much nuance. So already she rubbed me the wrong way with that. However, she rubbed me the right way, being an ally for darker skinned women. I love that. A lot of her think pieces about like Olandria, Love Island. Like I like those talking points that she has. However, I have noticed seeing her on TikTok have very strong points about her natural hair, and how she does not like to wear her natural hair. I have heard her say time and time again that, you know, she prefers to wear her hair in braids, silk presses, however she wants to wear her hair. In this recent altercation with African Hair God, who clapped back at her, she said that she believes that like when she wears mini twists, her hair looks crazy. She doesn't like the way her hair looks, and we have to stop gaslighting 4C hair girls, right? I don't know why I did these quotes, but we have to stop gaslighting 4C hair girlies, and we have to stop telling them that, you know, the truest, rawest form of them, and in order to break down the social constructs of hair, black hair within, you know, this white society, is to wear your hair as it is, however it manifests, without product, without any manipulation whatsoever, right? And she was basically saying that she doesn't want to do that. Like, she just wants to wear her hair in braids. She was basically hinting at the fact that she is okay and comfortable with the fact that she is going to wear her hair in braids and she's going to manipulate her hair as is. Okay. African hair god clap back. That's what African hair god does. He claps back, right? And he basically says, you're not even a type 4C hair girly, and you're over here creating 4C hair discourse and creating a space for women with 4C hair to not like their hair type. But you're not even a type 4A, you're not even a type 4C girly. You're type 4A, 4B girly. I don't know about hair, so I don't know what type of what type of girly she is. What I do know is that Narada is a really good hairstylist, and Narada is has been doing this for years. He's been not only like in the content creator space for years, but he's been doing this for years. And I'm trying to be fair here because I don't want it to seem like I am picking sides or aligning with, what a man has to say about a Black woman's experience versus what a woman has to say. I will admit during this whole argument between the two of them, because Davin Drew came out and she said, I don't like my type 4 hair in mini twists, and we have to stop acting like 4C hair isn't celebrated. Is celebrated when it is fine and thin and not that and not high density. We need to stop acting like we celebrate that type of hair when we're in this society and we don't. And then she made correlations to femininity, how there's a privilege in having high density hair, thick hair strands, and longer hair versus having short hair that's thin and sparse and all this other stuff. I wanted to, I really want to talk about this because, excuse me, we'll get to that in a minute. But, she had a point, right? But I think where I lost her personally is when she just kept dragging it out. You know what I mean? And what I mean when she kept dragging it out, I mean, like, if there's an issue that you have with your hair, you could just say, I prefer to wear my hair in braids and move on. Not everything has to be a talking point. You know what I mean? And then African hair god clapped back and basically said, the first thing he said, which had nothing to do with Davin Drew, but he was saying, I wish Black women would learn how to love their hair. And then he clapped back and he called her out and said, okay, why are you having this conversation about 4C hair when you're not even a part of the 4C hair club? Like, why are you doing this? Like, what is the point of this? What is this conducive to, right? Which led to a whole TikTok battle between the two. Apparently she asked him to go on live with her. African hair god was like, no, absolutely not. I'm not going to go on live with you. I don't think you are genuinely like trying to have a conversation here. They end up going on live, and the debates that they're having, like, because I watched all of this, and I watched African hair god cover all of this on his stream. And I will say there is something to be said about Black men over speaking the experiences of Black women, which I do feel like sometimes, and I love African hair god down, sometimes he does that. You know what I mean? At this point, I've never heard him be wrong or be in bad faith of some of the things that he's saying. It was very uncomfortable when he called out the young lady who was a chemist or claimed she was a chemist because she got her degree in chemistry, created this natural hair care company, and then started preaching on her TikTok that if you massage your scalp for 2 hours a day, that your hair will grow down to your ankles in less than a year, right? And how this can cure traction alopecia, and how this can cure all types of diseases that women might be afflicted with when it comes to hair growth and the issues that they have. African hair god, was very harsh with her. I'm not gonna lie. He was a little brutal. He was very brutal. But was he wrong in some of the things that he was saying? Especially when it came out that multiple trichologists had been on her channel or on her TikTok and saying, girl, no, you can't massage your scalp for 2 hours. What's gonna end up happening is you're gonna rub your scalp raw and your hair isn't gonna grow. Was he wrong in clocking the fact that just because you have a degree in college doesn't equal work experience? And Where are the subject matter experts next to you supporting what you are saying? Was he wrong in that? Was there a wrong inclination, or excuse me, was it wrong to call out that even if the intention wasn't to promote scamming behavior or predatory behavior towards women who want to grow their natural hair long, that did in fact happen with the lady who was talking about the 2-hour scalp massages? I don't think so. I do think his delivery is very harsh sometimes. I do. That's just my personal opinion. I'm my own little corner on my internet. I feel how I feel. I do think that he was very like, he can be very harsh. I think that he did clock her on some things on this live stream that they had, because she wanted to go on live and go back and forth about this conversation about natural hair, right? And personally, this is where they kind of lost, like both of them kind of lost me a little bit. I wish African Hair God didn't go on, because at this point, between this argument that they had, the debate that they had between each other, I think it's very important to talk about, just because you're a good debater does not mean that you are right. Okay? If somebody who has 10 plus years of experience in the natural hair space is telling you, hey, this is how it is. This is what I see. This is how it is based off of my experience that I have in working on all types of hair. And you are over here like, oh, well, here's a loophole here. Here's a straw man here. Well, I didn't say this. I said that. And you can prove a pretty strong case. Excellent debating skills, but that does not mean you're right. Okay? And if you just have a take and opinion that is yours, stand on it. If it's your own personal opinion, stand on it. But please, 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 please. And this is what stresses me out about like platforms like TikTok and social media as well. Not everything has to be a talking point. Please don't make things a talking point. If you don't prefer to wear your hair in its natural state, whether like you silk press it, because people are saying that silk pressing is, a natural hairstyle, girl, whether you put box braids in it, whether you do mini twist, flat twist, or whatever, or you do the braid out twist outs or whatever, if you're not comfortable with doing that, you could just say, I'm not comfortable with doing that. It looks crazy on my hair. I prefer my braids, period, end it. Okay? It should not have drawn out to the point where the Davin is going back, doing a debate with African Hair God. African Hair God's like, girl, bye. Okay. And then she gets back on a panel with a bunch of other women trying to prove her case about why she thinks it's okay for her to have this conversation about how we should feel about 4C hair, how she feels about her own hair, how 4C hair is viewed in society, right? I will say that there are some fair talking points that she had. I will say that, yes, we do celebrate hair that is thicker, higher density, looser curl pattern. We do not celebrate hair that is thinner, fine, low density, 4C curl pattern. We don't. But like, your preference as to why you prefer your hair this way is your business. And you don't have to say too much. Maybe you could say, I hate how we have to pit Black women against each other and how they want to wear their hair. Maybe you could say that. Sure, that's fine. That's cute. Like, okay, cool. But then after that, drawing it out, having a debate with a cosmetologist that, as you stitch and go back and forth with people on the internet, he stitched and went back and forth with you and put in his 2 cents. And now you're over here like, okay, well, I want to do a live stream. You do a live stream. He says what he says. Then you follow up with the panel. Then on the panel, I'm watching her on the panel, and it's like she's talking. Okay, so in this live stream with her, with African Hair God, right? African hair god gets like a little smart with her. Like he's ready to clock her. He's ready to go, right? And in his live stream of this whole situation and breakdown, he says like he was drunk and like, that's okay, girl, like whatever. That's what if that's the time you were on, that's the time you were on, right? But then immediately she goes in and she says, oh, well, you know, I don't feel comfortable in you speaking to me this way. Please don't speak to me this way, right? And he's like, okay, fine, I'll back off, right? But then on the panel of women, the way she was talking to those women on the panel, the way she was trying to chastise those women for not understanding her point of view of how she views hair, when I'm pretty sure at any time she could have left the panel at any time and been like, you know what, I said what I said, I'm done. I said what I said. This is how I feel about my hair, oh well. Okay? Like, and I think this struck a chord with me personally because I don't have 4C hair, but I have very fine, thin, natural hair. It's gotten better now that I'm taking care of it, but it's very fine, it's very thin. It's been that way for years, and I just discovered why my hair looks differently in certain styles versus women who have higher density hair. Like, it finally clicked, right? At the same time, I am learning to accept my hair. It took years and years of unpacking and a routine for me to understand why my hair does the way it does, or does the things it does, right? And it's still going to take years because there's some things about my hair that I'm very insecure about. But I find it funny because I look at her hair and it doesn't give fine to me. It gives, you know, you've been getting a lot of hairstyles, so your hair is like very overly manipulated, right? And so, like, if you left your hair alone, your hair would probably flourish and grow really thick and long and all of that. Like, if you left your hair alone, right? But if you want to keep putting box braids in it, and unfortunately, this is the risk. If you do put multiple styles in your hair and you're not taking care of your hair underneath, if you put box braids in it, if you put back-to-back box braids in it, if you get a silk press, if you put a sew-in, half wig, all of that, and you're not taking care of your hair underneath, you run the risk of your hair being overly manipulated and potentially being damaged. Right? I'm not saying that her hair was damaged. That's not my ministry. I'm not an expert. I'm not a subject matter expert in hair. I just know what I know. Okay. And from my own experience, I know if I over manipulate my hair too much, it's going to not grow the way it should. It's going to have some issues, you know, like it'll grow, but it's not going to grow optimally. All right. The way she chastised those women for like really debunking what she was trying to say and unpacking, some folks on there were on her side. Some folks were really trying to check her and be like, well, no, this is effed up. Everybody had pretty solid points, I will say. But the energy she gave was not it. And I think this is where I get confused as content creators, especially content creators who have huge followings, right? Because she has like 300,000. She has more followers than African Hair God, right? But couple things. When you are in the TikTok Yap space, I feel like people need to realize when they need to clock out. When they need to clock out and when they need to be like, you know what? I said what I said. I'm done. I'm not going to piggyback off it. I'm not going to drag it out. All right. I got other things to yap about. Right. Because I don't think this needed to go on as long as it did. Like it really didn't. And like now, as I'm seeing the pieces of this creator constantly have these very like shallow takes about things that have been like studied and debunked by like subject matter experts that have been in the industry, people who have done the research to understand why Beyonce is in fact promoting propaganda at the halftime show last year, cosmetologists who have worked on all different types of hair who are like, okay, this is not it, girl. Like what are you doing? You don't have this type of hair that you are critiquing so strongly, even if you are trying to come off as an ally. This is weird, you know? Instead of just being like, you know what? I said what I said, goodbye. It was, no, I'm going to get on live stream with this guy who is a cosmetologist. And again, maybe you can debate till the cows come home and say stuff like, oh, well, all his clients have their hair manipulated, which is weird to me because who invented the talking point that in order for us to wear our hair truly in its natural as is, right, we have to wake up in the morning, Don't brush our hair. Don't detangle our hair. Don't do anything to it. Don't put any product in our hair and just walk on this planet and exist as is. Who is making those talking points? Because that is hogwash. Every single person from every single race, man or woman, anybody in between, is doing some shit to their hair in the morning. Or they did some shit to their hair 3 or 4 weeks ago. That is stupid. Sometimes years ago, if you have locks. That is such a horrendous thing. Where is that coming from? I see girls all the time on TikTok who are like, this is my hair and it's natural. I didn't brush it. I didn't do anything to it. I just woke up like this. Why are you waking up like that? Like, I get it. I know why I wake up the way I do. Sometimes I don't brush my hair or anything. I've even had folks, other people of color tell me like, hey, why don't you brush your hair? Like, be very weird about it, you know? But I'm like, you know what? I'm trying to protect my hair. Like, I have length retention goals that I'm trying to hit, so I'm not trying to play in my hair too much. I'm very serious over here. We're strict. Okay? But like, what is wrong with putting shit in your hair to make it look a certain way? And when did we like deem the standard of hair manipulation? When did we deem the standard of hair manipulation to be like creating hairstyles, doing hairstyles that benefit your natural hair texture? When did we decide that? Okay, so like this debate was very interesting. I thought it was going to be ending here, but then the panel started, and then she just started talking to, I wouldn't say talking to people sideways, but getting very agitated over the fact that she's on this panel and answering to a bunch of these women. And over here, I'm thinking, well, girl, why did the panel even start? Why are we even on this panel? You can be like, listen, I had a take, I said what I said, and I'm done. And so that leads me to my next point, because I got to wrap it up right now, okay? So my final point is that, couple points. One, just because you can debate well doesn't mean that you're always right. And you're never going to win an argument if you are not qualified in that field. I feel like social media, especially the way it works now, has a lot of people thinking just because they have a certain amount of followers that, like, at the end of the day, I'm right because I won the argument. And if I'm not right, well, let's cherry pick why y'all are attacking me, blah, 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 right? And that's not how that goes. If debate bros have taught me anything, it's that a lot of those motherfuckers are not right and have really awful takes. They just know how to pick at things and make their point seem correct. Just because you are a good debater, just because you're a good arguer, and just because you strive to have the last word on everything does not mean that you are right. Okay? That's why the whole Beyonce propaganda thing fell through for a good chunk of people, because we're over here like, well, girl, no, Beyonce definitely is promoting propaganda. Biracial or not biracial, that's what's happening. Black Americana is repackaged propaganda. We should not be celebrating this country for some of the shit they've done. Okay? Like, I'm sorry. And the same thing goes here. Okay? Even if African Hair God did not win the debate, he was right in whatever he said, because he's been doing this shit for like 15, 10, 20 years. Like, what are we doing? Okay? And then after the fact, because we still gotta drag it on, I guess, we're on this panel with a bunch of women. You're obviously getting frustrated on the panel. She's getting frustrated on the panel. She's just like, you know, like, listen to me when I talk. Like, I don't know, just very weird. Like, it gives the vibes like your strict auntie is talking to you when you've done something wrong. Like, she's really trying to like sun these girls. Okay, she's really trying to sun these women. All right, and it's like, girl, log off. All right. I find it very weird nowadays with the power of social media, because it's not just something that she's done. I find so many people do this, especially prominent figures who have some version of a following. Some folks just don't know when to let it go. They don't know when to let it go. And then they attach themselves to a take they have and make that their whole identity. So to end things off, I'm going to argue and say it's bigger than whatever is going on with Davin Drew and African Hair God, and how Davin Drew feels about her hair, and how African Hair God showed up in this platform and the panel and all that. It's bigger than that. What I get very frustrated about is people who have an influence a following online that unfortunately a lot of us signed up for when we decide to be content creators. Not that it's okay that there's an expectation on us, right? But a lot of us sign up for, right? Or whether you're like a celebrity, a talking figure. I'm going to throw some people in there. Dave Chappelle, J.K. Rowling, Jillian Michaels are good examples because they all are people who made a really bad opinion that not a lot of people agreed with, or a certain side of folks didn't agree with, called them out on it, and suddenly made it their whole personality to be anti this opinion that people are calling them out on. Dave Chappelle came out on his first Netflix special after God knows how long he was under a rock and basically shat on trans people for an hour straight. And instead of being like, and trans people came out and said, listen, this is effed up, I don't like this. But instead of being like, you know what, I said what I said. I said what I said, like, you know, issue an apology or not. I would have issued an apology, but like he didn't, right? And just moving on with his day. He gets 2 more Netflix specials and he's doing the same shit over and over again. Now your brand is no longer attached to you being an excellent comedian and a wonderful storyteller. Now your brand is attached to you dunking on trans people and developing a whole entire audience that votes a certain way and agrees on certain things that wants you to dunk on trans people. Same with J.K. Rowling. J.K. Rowling could have kept her mouth shut. And I just went to Harry Potter land, right? This is why I've been iffy on reading her books, okay? Why are you making your whole brand revolve around how you feel about trans people? You could just be like, I don't think trans people are women, period, bye. Do I agree with you? No, I think trans people are women, right? But you do not have to follow up. You do not have to keep making tweets. You do not have to answer for yourself. You definitely do not have to like what the Matt Walshes and the Tucker Carlsons or whoever the hell pushes that like anti-trans turfy agenda. You don't have to promote those people. You don't have to promote those people in order to say what you need to say. Same thing happened with Jillian Michaels. She said something about Lizzo, saying that she doesn't think Lizzo is a good representation for body positivity, but I like her music. Crashed out when the internet was like, well, girl, that's a little fat phobic. And now is over here doing podcasts with like conservative conspiracy theorists like Candace Owens. How did we get there? And the egg crack moment for her, I guess, was, well, they're all canceling me for having an opinion. So I'm just going to go move to a certain side and let other people have whack ass opinions there. Like, when we make the takes that we have our whole personality, that's when it gets weird. Okay? That's when it gets weird. All right? Especially when you have impact, especially when you have influence. That's weirdo behavior. You are a weirdo for doing that, love. Okay? Like, just because someone critiques when you are loud and wrong does not mean that you have to drag it out and follow it up with so many panels, talking points, think tank spaces, stitches, TikTok, all of that to try and prove why your side of things is correct. You can be like, all right, some people I had a bad take. Maybe I did have a bad take. You can apologize if you want to, and then be like, okay, I'm going to go on about my day now. This happened. This thing happened. We're going to move on. Why don't people want to do that anymore? People need to practice the habit of I said what I said. They need to practice that habit. They need to practice that exercise. And that's on Nene Leakes. I said what I said. I don't have to explain myself again. Example of someone doing that, Monique, the comedian Monique, got up here and she said she doesn't like that a bunch of black women in the Atlanta airport wear bonnets to go to the planes. She got backlash. Respectability politics, like, why are you doing all this? This is the problem with us as black people. We judge people, want. She made one other video and said, I said what I said, and then she moved on. Do I agree with what she said? Absolutely not. No, I don't. I could care less how you show up in this world, whether you wear a bonnet or not. Some people wish I put a bonnet on my head with whatever's going on with my head underneath when I don't comb it. So who am I to sit up here and say, oh, well, at the very least, you should wear a bonnet? No. At the very least, you should take your head out of a bonnet and all of this. Like, I don't care. I don't care. Do what you want with your hair. But I'm here to say that Monique is a great case study, and I said what I said, and I'm going to move the fuck on. Some of y'all need to practice that, especially like in the influencer content creator space, commentary space, TikTok yapping space. This is why I haven't been on TikTok yapping as much as I want to, because I don't know if I'm mentally prepared for being wrong, because it's not if you're wrong, it's when you're wrong, and being comfortable enough to be on a panel and talk for 5 hours about my wrongdoings. I don't know if I'm comfortable with that yet. It could still happen on here, but it's just like, girl, log off. It doesn't have to be a whole dissertation that you don't like to wear your hair out naturally, that you would prefer to wear braids. You do not have to argue with people who have 10 to 20 years of experience and then pull in all these other metaphors about and hidden agendas about like misogyny and misogynoir, even though I can see the misogynoir respectfully. Like I can just see it with like how it can be portrayed with African Hair God's delivery. I can see it. However, it's not like he's wrong, okay? He never does it in bad faith, okay? But it's just like, you had this opinion about your hair. Some people agreed, some people disagreed. Get offline. Because now you're working yourself up to the point where you're crashing out crying after the whole fact, saying that you're broken. You're broken and you're battered, which I guess did happen because she was beaten down as a Black woman. And it's just like, but you're the one who wanted to do the live with African Hair God, who got on this panel, who got on another panel with somebody who was all the way there with what you were saying and agreed with what you're saying. You got on so many lives, you made so many stitches. Sometimes you have been the one, the TikTok yapper, doing the stitching of other people's posts. Like, this is low-key what you sign up for, and it's rough and it's hard and it's terrifying. Like, I don't know what I would do in this situation, but really at the end of the day, at most you could say, hey, this is how I feel about this, I'm gonna move on with my day now, bye. Like, you don't have to go amongst a panel of people trying to explain why you're right, they're wrong, and then try to talk to them like you're some auntie of theirs or like like their mother, okay? Like, you really don't have to do that. It's never that serious. And to close things off, as as this person posted, okay, under this whole entire live stream, our country is in shambles and we're arguing about hair. Yeah, there are more pressing things that we can argue about and we can agree to disagree, and that's fine, I guess. I would just say that if you have negative connotations about your hair, be careful with how you portray that to the mainstream, or not even the mainstream, but to your audience. Okay. And this is coming from somebody who made a very, one of my most popular videos on YouTube was me shitting on the natural hair community. I've now taken it down because I don't really agree with the delivery of how I said things. And I'd like to recant on some things that I talked about, but be careful. I know we're not put on this planet or put in these spaces to be role models. And I, for one, will definitely say, do not try to make me be a role model to your 16, 15, 14-year-old child, 10-year-old child. Don't do that. I'm not, no. But I will say, that when it comes to things like this, when we already know that Black women have such a negative viewpoint of how they feel about their hair, and it's just Black women, not other women, right? Just to be cautious in what you're trying to say. And hey, there might be a time where I might mess up and I might say the wrong thing. I might, say something really awful about natural hair that I didn't mean to. I mean, that's what I basically said about the whole movement in my video that I took down. But as long as you can be like, either I said what I said, or hey, some of the things I said was effed up, I apologize, and move on, I think that's fine. Because you're never going to sway public opinion into thinking the way you do, and it never ever has to be bigger than what it actually is. If it really is, I prefer my knotless box braids, okay. My natural hair looks boneless and thin and scraggly AF with twists, okay. Like, okay, like that's fine. But you don't have to make it this whole big like social dissertation, like come on. And then you don't have the creds to do that. Okay, I don't know. I don't know what credentials you can have to like talk about the behaviors of like hair and whatnot, but outside of you being like a cosmetologist who's worked on natural hair for years, but like just like easy, just relax. But yeah, that's all I got for you guys today. That's it. Hanging on to my locks before the tenderism takes over in old age. Let's go, Cole. And I like that you have locks too. I like that you have the locks. I like locks. I could never get locks. That sounds so passive aggressive. I'm sorry. But I just don't prefer locks, you know. I like braid out. See, I manipulate my hair. I'm wearing a wig right now. But I'm not gonna sit up here and make a whole like social experiment dissertation as to why I wear a wig. I just told y'all, listen, we're strict over here. We're trying to retain length. I don't like playing in my hair every single day. Okay? And then just ended it at that, all right? However you feel about it is how you feel about it, okay? All right, guys, but I gotta head off. I got other things that I gotta do, but I will be here on Thursday, 1 to 4 p.m. I'm gonna carve out time to be here, and then we'll start streaming the query. But thank you guys for tuning into my stream. I really appreciate it. You be eating your hair up. I'm still in headband. Oh my God, Colton, you be eating your hair up. I'm still in headband wigs fighting for my life. Cole, I just wear a shake and go rig, Synthetica, and I move on about my day. IRL, this shit looks awful. This shit looks awesome. Send me a plate when you're done. Will do. No, but I can send you the link. Okay, very quickly. I'll tell you where I got the wig. It's the Frodio wig on Amazon. Real talk, we shouldn't be on Amazon anymore. We should be boycotting a lot of these places. But I get it, like convenience and all of that. Not all of us can, fight the good fight, right? So this is the wig I have. So screenshot it. I'll copy and paste it. So you too can be a bad bitch. All right, that's the wig. And then let me give you the link to, ooh, real name. I don't want people to see that. Let me give you the link. So this is the wig I wear because I believe everyone should be a bad bitch and I don't believe in gatekeeping. Oh no, I can't give you the link. Oh well. But type that in Amazon, okay? Okay, Cole? Type that in Amazon. You really give it back to the blog. Thank you. You know how I do. I like to give back. But yeah, that's the wig I wear. I think this is the one. This might be the longer one. I mean, either way, they're both cute. Let me see. You can also type in wig with bangs and it'll show up. Bangs. Oh, that's the only wig that shows up. That wig is good. That wig is good enough. Yeah, they used to have multiple colors too. I don't know what's going on with that. Okay, yeah, they have a 20-inch and they have a 26-inch. Yes. Okay, and then they also have the half wig. I'm about to get the half wig. But yeah, these wigs are really nice. I like them. And as soon as the stream is over, I'm gonna take this shit off. And I'm gonna sit there with my low manipulated dookie braids, okay? Because I don't give a fuck, all right? And it's just what it is, okay? But yeah, that's all I got, guys. All right. I love you all down so much. Thank you so much for tuning into this stream. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I will be seeing you guys on Thursday, okay? Take care, y'all. Bye.